started YouTube, I have found two things to be quite interesting. The first is when your channel is really small, when you get comments, they are generally really polite and positive and people encouraging you to keep going. Of course, I got some comments that weren't so nice. People often would tell me that the way I talked was annoying and funny things like that. I find it funny because if I find someone talking annoying, I usually just click off a video. I don't feel a need to write a comment telling them. But to each his own, and that was about as bad as it got for quite a while. Well, as your channel grows, typically people start writing longer and longer comments about what a terrible person you are, how stupid or ignorant you are, and giving you all kinds of reasons why you really shouldn't have made whatever video it was. And that's been kind of interesting. I typically try not to take it too hard when I get comments like that because I heard another YouTuber once saying, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. And I wouldn't generally take advice from someone who is willing to go write mean comments about people on YouTube. But it still can sting a little bit when things like that happen and make you question, wait, did I do something wrong here? Did I say something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? The other interesting phenomenon that I have found with being on YouTube is that I'm terrible at guessing what people will like and think is really great and what people will think is offensive and horrible and make them think that I'm a terrible parent. Generally, if I'm really excited about a video and I think you guys are going to love it, it gets really bad comments and people telling me that I should never post a video like that. And often videos that I'm a little nervous about, I'm not sure if I should post them or not, but I think they're good concepts and good information, so I go ahead and put them out there. I will actually get positive feedback on those. So it's been interesting just being on YouTube and kind of seeing these two things come about. And hopefully the longer that I do this, the better I will get at figuring out the videos that people want to see and the ones that they don't. But I do think that sometimes it is important to put videos out there that may be a little bit uncomfortable so people can see different perspectives and not just constantly see everything they want to see. The reason I do this channel is to help other people out, and if you are telling people about something they could be doing that's different, somebody is going to get offended at some point. So it's just kind of par for the course, and I know I've heard from a lot of YouTubers with much bigger channels than I have that it just keeps happening. You never fully figure out what's going to offend people and what isn't because someone will always be offended by what you have to say. But this video is going to be a little different than my typical videos because last year around this time, I posted a video on what I was getting my kids for Christmas, and it was minimalist gift ideas for kids. And I was super excited about the video. I thought that it was going to be a big hit. I had seen a lot of other creators do this, and I thought it was really fun. And I was really excited about what I was going to get my kids for Christmas. But I think to date, I have gotten the most negative comments that I have ever gotten on a video, and I think also the most dislikes on that video. So I did want to clarify some of the things that I had talked about in that video because there were really three main things that got people really upset that I had said in that video. So I don't know, maybe this will make things worse, maybe it'll make it better. Only time will tell when I post this video. If you're new to my channel, I'm Kassy with makingtimeforgiggles.com, and I post videos all about how to simplify your life so you can get 7 extra hours in your week. We do this through meal planning, budgeting, routines, and decluttering. And if that sounds like something you would be into, I'd love to have you subscribe down below. Like I said, this is a little bit different of a video, so you could maybe watch some of the other ones to decide if you want to subscribe or not. But happy to have you here. And if you want to see the original video that I will be referencing in this one, I will link that in the cards and in the description down below if you want to check that out and have a little context for this video. So the first main problem that people had with the video is I mentioned that the video was only covering my 2 older children who were at the time 7 and 4 years old. And I wouldn't be talking about anything we were getting the baby who was 8 months old at the time because we weren't actually getting him anything for Christmas. And people were very bothered by that, saying, oh my goodness, that poor baby, how can you treat him like he is not a member of the family, and you are just a really horrible person for not getting him anything. So one reason that we do this is because they really don't care. When they are under the age of 1, my kids really aren't that interested in what is inside the box. They are very interested in playing with the wrapping paper and the boxes and everyone else's things that they're being told no, they shouldn't play with because it may be breakable or fragile or something like that. But they're almost never interested in what is actually for them. And I actually had someone recently comment and say, you need to get your kids checked if they aren't playing with toys at this age. But they go to their well child checks. Their doctor's not at all concerned with their development. And I've talked with a lot of other parents and grandparents who say the exact same thing. The best present for a little kid is a box and paper and some other things that just make noise but aren't actually presents. And I would guess if you took any child, well, maybe not any child, but if you took a lot of babies under the age of 1 and you put toy keys out on the floor so they could play with them, or if you put real keys on the floor, they will always grab for the real ones because they're interested in things that the rest of their family is doing and they want to see and they want to explore. And I've almost never seen a baby actually be interested in toy keys, even though you can buy them everywhere and they say that babies will love them. But boy, if you get out some real keys, they are very interested in that. So I think my oldest, when she was under 1, she would sometimes play with her actual toys, but especially my other 2, and my older one did do this as well, even though she would play a little bit with the toys, is they were much more interested in figuring out what their dad and I were doing and exploring the house and seeing if they could climb on the couch by themselves and figuring out how to walk and doing all of those other things that babies do versus just sitting and playing with the baby toys. Now, when we put them in bed, we read them books and things like that, and they will be interested at that moment. But even books, when they're really little, they just will throw them all off of their shelf and not sit and actually look at them until they are over 1. They do get to the point where they are playing with their toys and reading their books, but for us in our experience, when they're real little, that is just not the time. And I've talked with a lot of other parents and grandparents who have had the same sentiments. So I don't think that my kids are developmentally behind or I should be worried about anything like that because of that. And definitely the older 2 are way older than that age now, and they are very interested in playing with their toys and things like that. So I know that it's going to come around, and I'm really not worried about the fact that the little guy was not that interested in toys when he was really little. Now he is 18 months old, and he is much more interested in the toys that he got from that age. So that leads me to the second point about why we don't get toys for our kids when they are little. And that's because our kids get gifts from 4 different families outside of us. They get gifts from my parents, from my husband's parents, from my sister and her family, and from my husband's brother and his family. And we all have a really open communication when it comes to gifts, and I will touch on this a little bit later in the video because this was something else people were really bothered about. But we all talk as it's coming up to Christmas time. So just to give you an idea of this, when I'm filming this video, it is the last week in November. And I already know what my parents have already gotten for my kids. I know what my sister has already ordered for my kids. And I already know and actually have in my possession what my in-laws have ordered for my kids. They order them ahead of time. My in-laws live far away from us, so they will ship them to us. And then she has me actually wrap them and put them under the tree. So I always know way in advance what my kids will be getting from other members of the family. And everyone was saying in the comments how horrible it was that the baby wasn't getting any toys for Christmas, but he actually did get toys for Christmas. He got this really cool little toy from my sister, something that I had put on his wish list. I had a toy kind of like this with the girls. It was a Melissa and Doug wooden stacking rings, but it always made me so nervous because they would take the rings off, and then when they were toddling around, they would hold on to the middle, the center part that went through all the rings, and it always scared me that they were going to fall and hurt themselves. So I actually got rid of it, and she found this, which it's all silicone. They make a little noise when you squish them, but they still snap together. And it's the same exact idea as the snapping rings. They have really cool textures. Let's see if I can get that to focus. Textures on the outside. Some have numbers, some have letters. They feel really neat, but there's no dangerous parts of this. So I knew that I didn't need to get this for him. I knew it was already coming for him. Another thing that he got for Christmas, something my mom actually got him, and there are probably twice as many of these, but he plays with them all over the house and in the bath, and I think there's some up with the bath stuff. But it's kind of the same idea. These are little stacking cups, and you can either stack them all and nest them inside each other, or you can stack them and make little towers with them. And these also have different designs on the bottoms. I don't know if you can see that, but you can put them in the bath and they will let the water out in different ways. This one has a little smiley face. This one's a little cloud, it looks like. This one's stars. So they can kind of start learning, oh, if I put water in this, more water will come out in certain ones and not in other ones. So these were really fun as well. And again, I actually knew these were coming ahead of time. I don't remember what my in-laws got him for Christmas last year. If you're watching this video, I know you guys do watch the video and you want to comment down below and tell people what you got, go ahead and do that. But I don't remember. It may have been a book. I feel like my mother and father-in-law got the kids all books last year, but I can't quite remember which one it was. And then another toy that he got, I think this one may have been his birthday, but this was another fantastic one that I had found and put on his wish list and my mom got for him. It's a Busy Cube, and it has a fidget spinner on it. It's got little locks and gadgets that you can undo. You can actually open it up. It's got a compass on the inside. It's coming apart a little bit because he plays with it so much, but it's been a really fun toy for him. It's got a little switch, got a little wheel, got a clock, and there's actually a lock also that you can put on here and open with the key, but that has been misplaced. So this has been another really fantastic toy. But again, I didn't feel the need to get him this gift since I already knew it was coming from somebody else. And that is definitely something I would encourage all of you. If you can have an open communication with your parents, aunts, uncles, anyone who's buying your kids gifts, then you can kind of save some money as you go along, because I will often ask my mom and my mother-in-law before I purchase anything for my kids, hey, their wish list is ready. Do you have anything on here that you really would like to get them? And then it helps me narrow down what I'm going to get them and helps me spend a little less money because I don't have to get them all of the things. Now, another reason that we don't get our kids gifts when they are really little is because we have enough. And I'm going to do a video at some point on figuring out how to determine enough for yourself. But we were really blessed in getting a lot of toys for baby showers and birthdays. Grandparents and aunts and uncles would get things for birthdays. And we're at the point really that we have enough toys for children between 1 and 2 years old. And I'll show you, I always keep one basket of toys downstairs. It has toys, it has books. I've got these little silicone blocks. Some of them end up in here downstairs, some stay upstairs. At this point, he's not old enough to need them all. He just kind of plays with the ones that are there. Got a little rattle here, a teether if he wants that. We have books in here. And oh, this is one of my favorite books. If you don't have this book, it's amazing. It's so fun. Really fun to read. The kids love it. It's just a really good one. It's called The Bear Snores On by Karma Wilson and Jane Chapman. So cute. It's been our favorite since our oldest was tiny. And he's also got this little doodle pad in here. I think I showed this on one of the last videos, but you can draw on here and then it goes away like that. So he's got little toys down here, and I keep a little bin of toys downstairs. I've done this with all 3 of my kids until they're about 2 years old, just to make it nice and easy for them to entertain themselves with toys if they want to while I am cooking and things like that. Like I said, my oldest actually would go over to the bin and play with it. My middle one did a little bit. The little guy is not interested at all, unless one of us is over playing with him. I will actually sometimes bring him from the kitchen and say, hey, here are things that you can play with when he's just trying to get into the drawer, and he will just start crying. He does not want these at all. He wants to be exploring and figuring out the world around him. His absolute favorite toy right now is a stool. We have a little fold-up stool that goes next to the fridge. He has figured out where it lives, pulls it out, pops it together, and he carries that around the house. And if I'm cooking, he will pop it next to me and climb up on it and see what I'm doing. He's figured out he hates that his sisters have instruments that he can't touch and he can't play them. So he will take it over to the piano, climb up on the piano bench, and he's figured out that he can play the piano and no one tells him he can't do that. So that's his favorite thing ever. He gets very upset if anyone else in the family needs a stool. And yeah, that's actually more his favorite toy than anything that's in here. And like I said, of course, he has these things also that go in the bin. And then he also has a bin of toys that I keep in his room. He's got these little things, which are really cool. Someone gave them to us, and they have little animals that go in the houses. So the house, the number one house is the biggest, and you put the number one animal in that. And it has little wooden animals that go in each one. So they can be learning about numbers and matching and sizes and all kinds of things with these toys. They're really fun. He's got a little wooden helicopter. He's got a little wooden car. He actually does like the cars. He will play with those a little bit. He's got this sorter toy I talked about in one of the other videos. And then of course these toys as well go in the bins. And he also has a little metal tractor. I didn't bring that down, but he really likes that. Got that from a friend. And then he has this little guy, is one of his favorites. This was another gift he got last year. Actually, my oldest daughter found this and she wanted to get it for him. She wanted to get it with her own money. She didn't want anyone else to buy it for him. And he sleeps with it every nap and at bedtime. Loves this thing. And this was another little gift that he had gotten. My mom got this for him. So he has toys. It's not like he doesn't have any toys and we keep him from toys. It's just that when you have enough and you don't want to live in a really cluttered home, it's not necessary to get a whole bunch of more things when you already have enough of something, and you can get other things that make a lot more sense. So it's not that he doesn't have toys. He isn't deprived. We don't keep him from toys. He has a lot to play with. But when he was 8 months old, all of my kids, when they were 8 months old, they really weren't awake too much. So that was the other thing I found humorous. I had posted that video, was getting all this negative feedback about it. And then as Christmas rolled around, we had presents under the tree for him from all of the different people that I mentioned, wrapped up. Also, I have an aunt that sends gifts, and also they have another set of grandparents that aren't biological, but just really close friends that always send gifts as well. So they have minimum 6 things under the tree for each child. And we typically, because we don't want them to just get overwhelmed on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, the week before Christmas, we will let them open one thing each night. And we'll eat dinner, we'll clean up, and then we'll sit down and we will all open one present, or just the kids will, depending on how much my husband and I have to open. And it's a really nice way to kind of spread things out and keep it simple. But even with my husband and I not purchasing anything for the little guy, he was the last one opening gifts. He had the most days after everyone else was done that he was opening for, because we would do it in the evening. He was tired, he was cranky, so we would end up putting him to bed before we all got around to sitting down by the tree. And he also opened quite a few on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, the actual days, because my husband was home earlier and he was able to participate sooner than he is on work days. So we found it really interesting, the comments I was sharing with my husband as they were coming in, and everyone thought he was just this poor deprived little baby, and he actually took the longest to get through all of his presents because he was just sleeping a lot. And then the last reason that we don't really buy gifts for our kids when they're real little is money. We don't see a point in spending money on somebody who isn't going to care about the gift and who also isn't going to notice whether they got one from you specifically or not. So often what we will do when they are really little, instead of giving them a physical gift, is we will put money into their college savings accounts that we set up for them when they are born. And they can then use that money later when they will really appreciate the gift, and the money will be much more valuable to them than if we had just put it into a little toy when they were little. Now, don't worry, any of you who are concerned that he's still not getting any gifts this year. He is 18 months old now, and he is very aware of toys and very much aware of what his sisters are doing and if he is receiving something or not. My husband was actually just telling me yesterday at church, someone was passing out little stuffed animals to the kids, and he handed one to my oldest and he handed one to my middle. And then the little guy looked up at him and put out his hand and was like, "Where is mine?" So he's very aware of when his sisters are doing something, he should be getting it also, doing or getting something. So he's absolutely going to get things this year. If you want to see what he's getting for Christmas, check out my next video. I will be sharing what we are getting our kids for Christmas. So moving on to the second thing that bothered a lot of people in that video was the fact that I bought some things secondhand. I was told I was very cheap and just didn't appreciate Christmas and the spirit of giving because I get things secondhand. Most of the things I actually got for my daughters were new, but I bought them each a robe at a resale. Now the robes looked brand new. They didn't look all worn out. They were in really great shape, as most of the clothes that I get them are from resales. And they had been asking for, as they called them, subby robes for a very long time. And I had been saying no because they had silky robes and they never used them. I said, I'm not going to get you something else that you already never use. But they really wanted them, so I found some there for a good price, and I thought, well, even if they never use them, it's okay. It'll be fine. But they absolutely loved them, and funny enough, they actually asked me where I found them. I don't know why they asked me that. They don't often, but I told them. I said I got it at the resale, and they both said, "What? We didn't see any when we were there. We were looking for them." I didn't even realize they had been looking for them. So they had no problem at all that they were secondhand and used, and maybe that's because we shop secondhand for them a lot. They don't see it as anything less than. They're still very excited about them. And just in case you're wondering, they actually do use the savvy robes much more often than they did the silky ones. Anytime they're sick, they will wear it pretty much from the time they get sick until the time they are well. They will sleep in it, and it's just a cozy thing that they like to do. And when they also shower, they really like to put their robe on after. So they do use them, and I am happy that I got them for them. But I wasn't going to spend a lot of money on something that was kind of iffy, and I really didn't think that they were going to because they hadn't used robes before. So the big reason that we shop secondhand for our kids is we are a single income family. And we had a lot of people say to us when we would tell people that I was going to stay home once our oldest was born, "Wow, I wish I could afford to do that." And a lot of people acted like we just must have so much money coming in because how else could we afford to do this? But the truth of the matter is that since we got married, we had been working on paying off all of our debt and getting everything in order so that we would be able to do this, because it was something that both of us really valued and wanted to do. It had been a ton of work, and we knew that once the baby was actually here, we were going to have to tighten our belts and make sure that everything was going to work and we were going to make ends meet. So we are on a very tight budget. We now have 3 kids plus the 2 of us to support on 1 income. And we have to make sure that we aren't going out to eat too much. We have to make sure that we are using every single piece of food that we buy and we aren't wasting. So we just have to be really careful about where we spend money. And if we can find something used that is just as good as something new, we are going to buy used. We actually also at the resale this year, this is something I was going to give the little guy for Christmas, but my husband said, no, we're not waiting for Christmas. We're just going to give it to him now, is a swing. We didn't have a baby swing because we built the swing set after the girls were both old enough to swing themselves. And we had been looking for one, but they were so expensive on Amazon. Well, I was at the resale. I found one for $25, I think it was. And it's perfect. It works just fine. And it doesn't work any worse than one that I think they were $70 or $80 on Amazon. And he has so much fun swinging in it. He loves being able to swing with his sisters on either side of him. And I'm so glad that we looked around and found that versus spending twice or more than twice as much for something that would have done the exact same thing. And I don't know how things are in the part of the country that you're at. Where we live, things have gone up so much. Even just basic things like food and water and electricity have skyrocketed since COVID. And we have to be even more careful now than we used to. I actually got a seasonal job this year. If you're interested in hearing more about that, let me know in the comments and I can tell you about it. It's actually been kind of fun. But I am working evenings and nights now because I want to help out with some of these extra expenses, and I don't want my husband to have to get a second job because he already works hard all day long. So we have to watch our budget, and maybe you don't have to, and you can buy your kids all new things all the time, and that's great. That's fine if that's how you want to spend your money. But just because someone else has to have a budget that they adhere to doesn't make them a bad parent. It means that they're doing their best for their kids with the money that they have. And the third thing that bothered a lot of people, not everybody, some people did have really nice comments, and if that was you, I did very much appreciate that. But it bothered a lot of people that I mentioned setting boundaries with people who give your kids gifts, with grandparents or aunts and uncles. So I guess I don't know for sure because I haven't asked them, but I don't think it has bothered anybody too much when I said, we are hoping to live a more minimalist life. We really don't want lots of toys with lots of pieces and things that are just going to be discarded. We really want some intentional gifts for our kids if you're going to buy them. You don't have to buy them gifts. We're not expecting anything. But if you want to, this is the types of things that we would like for them to have. Experiences and all the things that I talked about in my intentional gift ideas videos. I will link that in the cards and the description if you want to check that out. But there was never any sort of backlash or anger, at least from what I saw. Again, if you are one of those family members that watches my videos and you want to put in the comments down below, tell people if you were really frustrated with me or not, feel free to do that. You can say who you are and how you know me. But it hasn't been a big deal. And like I said, we have pretty open communication with the 4 people we know, or the 4 families we know for sure will get our kids gifts every year. That's my parents, my sister's family, Ross's parents, and his brother's family. We all ask each other. And I ask them, they ask me, hey, what are your kids into this year? What are they wanting to get? Especially if you don't see each other very often, kids change so quickly. And just because they may have liked something last year, or just because your kid liked it when they were their age, doesn't necessarily mean that they will. And I think it's especially polite to do this if you're wanting to get the kids something that is what I consider to be a noisy toy, something with batteries or things like that. And I just think it's a politeness thing. And it's never been anything, or people seem to get upset with me. Maybe they do. Like I said, you can correct me in the comments below, family, if I am wrong. But even recently, just maybe it was last year, I can't remember exactly when it was, my mother-in-law asked me about a certain book that she was wanting to get the kids. And I said, I'm really trying at this point to have them read true stories more than anything else. And she said, okay. And she got them some true stories. It wasn't a big deal. And maybe that's just the relationship that we have with them. And yeah, I did set boundaries, especially at the beginning, because what we wanted was different. And I knew for my mental health, what it did for me when I was in a house with a lot of things and a lot of extra clutter and a lot of toys that I would have to be picking up. It wasn't good for me. It stressed me out. And I knew when I decluttered, it was much better for me and for the kids. So I was willing to have what might be considered some uncomfortable conversations, but I don't remember it being anything that caused any fights or anything like that. And ever since then, everyone has been very respectful about it. So I do think it is a parent's prerogative to set boundaries for what they want in their house and what they want their kids to use and play with. And yeah, I guess that's just an unpopular opinion, but that's my opinion. And we tell our kids, for example, I'm not somebody who has pets. I had a lot of pets growing up, and it was a lot of responsibility. I was the oldest, and I didn't enjoy it. So I've decided I don't want pets as an adult. Well, our oldest has started asking for a dog, and my husband and I tell her, yep, when you are 18 and you have your own place, you can have as many dogs as you would like to and as your apartment lease allows. But right now, we really enjoy not having dogs. We like being able to go and do things, and it's not something that we want to have in our house. And maybe some people would tell us that that makes us bad people, but I think it's just being able to decide those things as adults. And yeah, we tell our kids things like that all the time. When you're an adult, you are welcome to make that choice, but this is the choice that we're making for our house right now. Another example is my middle daughter recently has been asking she wants colored lights on the house. She wants like the bulbs with all the colors, and we have white lights and we're not planning on getting any others. And we tell her, when you are an adult and you have your own place, you are welcome to have as many colors as you would like on your lights. But these are the ones that we have right now. These are the ones that Mommy and I chose. My husband's usually the one telling her this, and we're not planning on updating the lights anytime soon. So yeah, I think that as a parent and as an adult, as somebody paying the mortgage, you're able to make decisions like that for what you want in your house, and you can't always take everyone's preferences into account. Maybe when my kids grow up, they will want their kids to have every single toy in the world, and that's fine. That's their house if they want to do that at that time. But for me and my house, I want to live as stress-free as possible. I want to be able to be present with my kids. I want to enjoy them while they are here, and I don't want to be picking up after them and feeling stressed by all of their stuff all the time. So I hope that added a little bit of clarification. Maybe it made some things that I said in the other video make a little bit more sense, or maybe it'll just get people mad at me again. We'll see. We'll see in the comments and the likes if you all appreciated this video or if you found it annoying. Either way, you can let me know in the comments down below and I will see them. So I will see you all in the next video. I will be doing a video on what I am getting my kids for Christmas this year. Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, or maybe I just learn very slowly. We'll see. But if you are new to the channel, I hope you subscribe. I hope you stick around. I'd love to have you, and I'd love to show you how you can get an extra 7 hours every week. I'll see you on the next one.